sorry state of new releases this year, I decided that maybe now is the perfect time to consider recycling some of the older video games out there, rather than throwing giant piles of our cash at live service shitshows or Chinese-backed infiltrators. After all, we need to play something whilst we all wait for a decent game like Cyberpunk 2077 to be released. As many of you probably assume, I'm a huge fan of environmentalism and recycling. I always recycle glass bottles and scrap metal. I support clean-ish energy like nuclear power and nuclear weapons. And I've made sure that every single person that I have murdered is wrapped in biodegradable tarp before I would even consider burying them in my vegetable plot. I've even indulged in a little urban rejuvenation occasionally, converting unsightly derelict factories into spacious wasteland where kids can play and explore. I'm such a hardcore recycling rainbow eco-warrior that even when I change a car tyre, I douse the old one with petrol and set fire to it, so I can release the smoke containing all of nature's rubber and natural goodness, so it can drift on the wind, making its way back home to the jungles of South America in a natural and organic manner. I would love to do even more for the environment, like get one of those posh self-driving electric cars that weigh 2.5 tonnes, cost 100 grand, run over pedestrians, are powered by 600 kilogram lithium batteries made in a factory by robots, so there's not even any fucking jobs for normal people. But sadly, there is only so much that one ethically minded individual can do to make the world a better place. But one positive thing I can do right now to at least help the current gaming environment is to encourage more gamers to start recycling some of the good, quality, older video games that we might have missed first time round, instead of continuing to throw our hard-earned and precious financial resources at unfinished vaporware and bullshitting game publishers. Cyberpunk 2077 might not be out until the end of the year, maybe even later. The Division 2 is quickly turning into a slightly higher budget replay of Fallout 76. The industry seems hell-bent on turning every new release into a live service cash grab, and anything left that's even looking remotely decent is being snaffled up by Epic's Computer Game Republic of China. You guys know Epic Games, right? They're the corporation who virtue signal all fucking day long about being developer focused and helping the grassroots gaming industry, whilst firing any of their own developers if they don't work between 70 to 100 hours per week. Yeah, those guys. The fucking liars. So with virtually no decent games arriving anytime soon, other than on a Chinese state spyware platform, I thought I would compile a list of video games with the following qualities. They are solid, entertaining games, which are still worth taking a look at if you missed them the first time round. They are all either cheap, dirt cheap, available second hand, and 3 of them are free to play. Many of them are regularly in Steam sales or Uplay Store sales. They are all available on PC, Xbox and PlayStation. They will be an enjoyable way for you to burn off some gaming time whilst you wait for something good to be released later in the year, which right now basically means Cyberpunk 2077. I will issue the following legal disclaimers. I've played some of the games to death, some I have only barely tried, but they all have a fan base that swears by them and they all come highly recommended. Buyer beware though, I'm recommending the game itself, not the platform specific performance. I would recommend you get any of the story or content DLC that come with any of the games, because they expand both on the experience and the playtime. However, don't buy the microtransactions in the free-to-play games. Just chill and enjoy playing with your wallet locked firmly in a fucking drawer. Be warned, spending money in free-to-play games can quickly turn them into a very, very expensive addiction. So here are 10 games to keep you occupied whilst you wait for Cyberpunk 2077. Warframe. Have you ever fantasized about being a weird-shaped, dickless alien hermaphrodite that wears a skin-tight rubber jumpsuit and never seems to take it off when they take a shit? Me neither. But nevertheless, like most weird shit involving strange-looking people wearing creepy rubber outfits, I gave it a try, and it turned out not to be that bad in the end. Look, I'll level with you, I haven't really got hooked on this game yet, but it was fun enough whilst I was playing it. It comes very highly recommended, and not only is it free to play, but they don't push microtransactions in your face either. You run around, shoot things, I didn't really know what the fuck was going on, and half the time it looked like I was being shaken around in a bag of fucking Skittles. Lots of people swear it's the best online PvE third person shooter around, and it's totally free, so you'll only be spending your time finding out whether you agree or not. And using up your time is the point of the exercise, right? World of Tanks. World of Tanks is my favourite free-to-play or freemium game and requires very little explanation. It's basically a massively online combat game where you fight in little tanks to grind money and experience, to grind your way up tech trees, unlocking bigger and hopefully better tanks. You get to collect tanks and fight with them. What is there not to like about that? It has its flaws and can be very grindy at times. If you need to progress through a really shit tank to advance, it can get frustrating. And right now, the fucking bizarro 357 matchmaking can be a kick in the nuts for certain tanks, tiers and vehicle types. But it's free to play. You get to play with sexy tanks, and God forbid, when you eventually stop being horribly shit at this game, you can start blowing up other people's tanks too. Kingdom Come Deliverance. Go back to the Middle Ages and hit people in the fucking head with a mace. Who doesn't enjoy doing that? And it's even more enjoyable when you're doing it in a video game. This is a fantastic, realistic RPG set in 1403 Bohemia that's not for the faint of heart. It's slow to start, with fairly hardcore mechanics, but you will quickly find your own pace. Eventually, you will blossom into a fully armoured noble warrior, like a butterfly emerging from a cocoon. And then you can hit people in the fucking head with an even bigger, more expensive looking mace. I've made more than a few Kingdom Come Deliverance videos, with another on the way, so check out what I have to say about one of my favourite games, and please, if you haven't tried this game yet, I strongly recommend that you at least give it the benefit of the doubt. Frostpunk. Cannibalism, abusive child labour, and sending innocent people to their deaths is extremely entertaining, so why not try doing it in a video game? Take charge of the last desperate remnants of humanity struggling to survive the sudden onset of an ice age, and almost certainly lead them to catastrophic misery and death. But on a positive note, it's funny watching it all turn to rat shit as the world's temperature plummets further and further below zero and more people fucking die. The atmosphere, art design, cunning game structure and the superb soundtrack all combine to make this game a legitimately unique experience. This game has significantly less content than some of the other titles I'm recommending, but it has replayability, multiple scenarios, and is such an original and emotive strategy game, it's worth including on the list. Fallout 4. Fallout 4 is Bethesda's sprawling, controversial RPG-ish masterpiece. Buggy, flawed, and less than ideal RPG mechanics, but nevertheless a great game, which will entertain you for hundreds of hours and possibly thousands if you get addicted to the settlement minigame. This game takes on even more historical significance because it might end up being the last good Fallout game Bethesda ever makes. And for many, it represents the pinnacle of Bethesda Game Studios' reputation, which shortly afterwards they shat away with the appalling Fallout 76 and their fucky Skyrim phone app. Fallout 4 is a lot of game for a reasonable price, where you can enjoy the nostalgia of the end of days of Bethesda's golden age. You know, just before they turned into a bunch of lying money-grubbing thieves and ruined a reputation that took decades to cultivate. Fallout New Vegas. Visually, this game is a bit dated now, but the RPG at its core still holds its ground today. A beautiful yet bleak environment created by Obsidian Entertainment, the people that many say should have been in charge of making all of the Fallout games. Given the current state of affairs, may well be making the next one. This game, combined with all the story DLCs and the endless modding opportunities available for free at Nexus Mods, turn this into a potentially endless adventure. Personally, I loved hardcore mode, the atmosphere of the Mojave Desert, and the fantastic ammo crafting minigame which really made you feel like the apocalypse was now. If you can see past the dated visuals and clunky combat, this game has heart and is one of my favourite games of all time. Bioshock Series. Bioshock, Bioshock 2 and Bioshock Infinite are all atmospheric and highly original sci-fi fantasy action first-person shooters. The earlier games have aged fairly well, but nevertheless 1 and 2 have been recently remastered, so you can buy all 3 games as a collection or pick them up individually, first or second hand. Which you choose will be a matter of preference and budget. Sometimes intense, sometimes exciting, frequently creepier than going on a first date with me. They are 40 quid for the entire lot on Steam, including DLCs and the remastered versions of the first 2 games. Playing these all back to back will kill a week or 2 of your time, and possibly give you nightmares. They are very influential games in gaming history and definitely worth checking out. Far Cry 3. Far Cry 3 is proof that there was once a time, now lost in the annals of history, when Ubisoft made good games. You know, they released them after they finished making them, without a fuck ton of shitty pedo caches and live service arseholery. This game represents the high point of the Far Cry experience, in my filthy casual, non-expert, Far Cry franchise novice opinion. It's piss cheap, regularly on sale, has a story, has a now legendary video game character, and will serve to suck all of your free time away with its repetitive but vaguely fun game mechanics. This open world shooter is slightly dated, but fortunately most AAA shooters have been so utterly fucking shit and low effort recently, Battlefield 5, that by comparison it barely shows. It is far from perfect, but it definitely has some beautiful moments, and dare I say it, a few fucking memes. And if you like Far Cry 3, as a quick honourable mention, I would definitely recommend you check out Far Cry Blood Dragon, the very humorous 1980s parody spin-off. Far Cry Blood Dragon is basically what you get if you take the Far Cry 3 engine and throw it in a mixer with 5 litres of neon paint, 2 kilograms of concentrated essence of the 1980s, toss in Michael Biehn and mix it all up. Notably, Michael Biehn had just finished working on that fuckfest Aliens Colonial Marines and went straight to work on this game afterwards. He famously commented how it was like leaving a creative void and going to work on a project where everyone genuinely cared about the creative process. I still haven't gotten round to playing Blood Dragon, but it's highly recommended, certainly on my list, and as cheap as fucking chips, even when it's not on sale.
Hey, I got 1 page, I got 9 on it.
It's Sloane's bedtime, and his blanket is 6 feet of my shit. Fuck.
Take one.
What do you think of games? Do you play much games?
No, I don't. I'm here for a paycheck, and that's about it.
Well, you weren't first choice anyway, but we couldn't get Kevin Bacon.
Witcher 3. I have only just started playing Witcher 3 because somehow it slipped me by, but it's one of the most highly rated and praised action role-playing games around, so in a way I'm going to be putting this video to the test myself and playing one of my own recommendations over the coming weeks. Witcher incidentally is made by CD Projekt Red, the last best hope for video games in the current climate of live service bullshit, Chinese state infiltration of the Western video game industry, and Tim Adolf Sweeney's attempts to annex the gaming world so he can incorporate us all into his new epic Reich. It is a beautifully story-driven game where you play the role of this dude who stabs people, hits people, does magical shit, and rides a fucking horse. Look, I've only just started playing it, but it has boobs and swords, so I'm fucking sold already. I'm certainly going to be playing a lot of it over the coming months because they ain't going to be fixing the Division 2 any fucking time soon. The Elder Scrolls V: Skyrim. In the unlikely event that you've spent the last 10 years hiding in a fucking cave, or you accidentally locked yourself in your nuclear bunker and only just managed to dig your way out, Skyrim is possibly the biggest time sink in the history of single-player video games. And on top of this, there are an endless amount of free mods available on Nexus Mods for added replayability. Yes, if you've been playing a lot of Kingdom Come Deliverance, then the melee combat in this game is going to feel like a serious step down. But if you can get past the fact that this game is starting to feel very slightly aged and matured, Skyrim is the king of video game time sinks. You will lose touch with friends, alienate your family, and people will start to ask where you have disappeared to. If you get hooked on Skyrim, you can kiss your personal life goodbye for a good 3 months easy. Well, we live in strange times, and just as 2019 was looking fucking fantastic, all the TripleA titles decided to screw the fucking pooch and release unfinished cash grabs, and yeah, that includes you, Division 2. And also, sadly, most of the stunning indie titles we were all excitedly waiting for have taken a quick payoff, sold out all of their fans, and fucked off to become Epic Game Store exclusives. Shame on you. But all hope is not lost. There are still a ton of excellent games out there that we missed, and they are dirt cheap and still worth playing. So let's vote with our wallets. Recycle some classic video games, save a fuck ton of cash in the process, and wait patiently for a decent new video game to come along later in the year. But for now, good luck and happy hunting.